Good evening and welcome to my midweek recap here for the S&P 500 and plan ahead for the remainder of the week. I've taken two new positions here this week. First of all, I got into the 27 July 285 calls here at 18. Still holding those for a move higher, which I'll get to momentarily. And today I took a lotto play. It was impossible to hold overnight. These expired today. The 281 calls at 21. You can't really read it right there. And at the end of the day, I closed those out at 12 cents just as it started breaking back below 281. Was hoping for a late end of the day run up a little bit higher, but I guess they didn't want to pay out any of those options, so took the loss there. Still holding August 295s and those June 325s, which are starting to finally look promising again. Now on to my plan for tomorrow. A lot of extra lines on here. Everything below price I will be looking at as support. So if it comes down to the blue line, which is the 8 EMA, I'll look at 280 calls for 1 week in the future. Yellow line is 21 EMA, 277 calls 2 weeks, and the red line is 50 SMA. I'll look for 275 calls approximately 4 weeks in the future. And way down below it is still the 200 SMA. I'll look for 270 calls about 2 weeks in the future. These other lines that have come into play, this red line is the previous downtrend line from the last peak, which may or may not be too much of a legit line to really pay attention to since we had an initial breakdown and a new patterns forming, but I do still want to know where that level is going to be. Also a couple of broadening patterns here from last week that formed, nice break above here on Tuesday, and now we have another broadening pattern. If I zoom down here a little bit, price action put in a nice strong move up here, 3 advancing soldiers pattern here on Tuesday. Consolidated sideways, put in a broadening pattern towards the end of the day, has tested highs, tested lows, tested highs again now. So if it does not break above this 281.5, I would say tomorrow, most likely going to come back down, pull down to a support, maybe this lower wedge that it's just broken out of, or trying to break out of, I should say, or it may pull back to one of these moving averages. However, I'm staying very bullish, and if it does break above 281.5, I will look for a play up to around 283. And this brings me to why I am in the 285 calls. On the monthly time frame over here, you can see how we've taken out last month's highs, which I've been mentioning in my previous videos. Um, should have seen quite a bit more volume than we have for a break above that level, but I'll take it as it is until proven otherwise. We've taken out another upper wick here, which is 280.41, and may need to get some more volume to actually sustain that move. Now, what I'm thinking may happen is bears are being a little bit stubborn. Anyone who was short, any participants who were short versus these wicks are probably waiting to see if it rolls back over, and at which point, as price comes up, they'll probably add to their position. When it comes back down and test this level again, it will probably be support, at which point I will take a support play and keep this line on my chart for that kind of a play. Overall target right now is still going to be around 286.60, at least near term, simply because that's where the highest peak is. That does not mean I am going to be selling or turning bearish at that level. Just want to know because that is where there's going to be a certain level of supply. Now onto the daily time frame. Get the pattern up here that I've been preaching for weeks now. Big W pattern, measure move all the way up to 292.5 roughly. And this is going to be a consolidation zone that I'm looking at simply because that is where the initial sell-off started, a bearish harami, and broke down, gap down below it. So I expect at least a test of that gap, which should put those 285 calls very, very profitable and at least make it worthwhile to have taken that position. So for now, this will be my trade plan for the remainder of the week and into next week. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Have a good evening and good luck.